Let me welcome you back to the second episode of Wittmeyer Briefs, the podcast brought to you by R.F. Wittmeyer, the law offices of R.F. Wittmeyer Limited. I'm Jim Mitchell, I'll be your host, and today we've got a great topic lined up for you. We're going to talk a little bit about those initial steps that you should take if you're involved in an accident of some sort, whether it's automotive, something at work, slip and fall in the neighborhood. We'll get that information, as we always do. We'll get it from our experts at Wittmeyer. And first of all, Mr. Ron Wittmeyer is here, the founding partner, managing partner. Ron, first of all, thanks for being here again.
Thanks, Jim. Good to be here.
And welcoming today for the first time, Paula here is one of the attorneys on the staff there. And Paula, I know you're going to share some information, so it's nice to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Looking forward to the discussion. So we established you are a firm that focuses primarily on personal injury. We talked about the wide range of things that might encompass. So today we're going to talk about people who are involved in some sort of an accident and what they should do, because if you don't do certain things right away, it could really, prevent you from being able to follow up on that. So Ron, first of all, as we talk about this, let's say that there is an incident in which police are involved. Perhaps an accident, they'll come out and, investigate, or even in the workplace, maybe management will substitute them. If you're in an accident, what should you make sure you do say or don't say as that experience starts to unfold?
First of all, you want to make sure you notify anybody that needs to be notified of the incident. Right. For instance, a workplace injury. You've got to notify your employer. And the sooner the better. Mm-hmm. There's actually a statute that requires notification to the employer in Illinois within 45 days.
Okay.
If, let's say, for instance, you slip and fall in a grocery store, well, you want to notify management right away so they file an incident report. Mm-hmm. You don't want to come back 3 days later and say, hey, I fell in aisle 14.
Yeah.
Why would anybody believe that happened?
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And then in regards to car accidents, of course, you want to call the police. Mm-hmm. And when speaking to the police, one thing, we would advise our clients is don't admit fault. Don't start apologizing. Mm-hmm. I think car accidents can be very emotional and traumatic. And I think it's natural to sometimes to want to apologize or say, I'm so sorry, even if it's not your fault. So don't apologize. Don't speculate about what happened. Remain calm. Be polite to the police and just stick to the facts, short and sweet, as to what you know that they are.
Yeah, and that emotional aspect, I'm sure, is really prevalent in those instances. So it's hard to sort of control what you say or don't say. So really, if I hear you, you have to do something, but the less said right now, the better.
Yes.
I think that's fair.
I think so, yeah.
Right. Now, unfortunately, most of these accidents that are going to lead to perhaps your services being required are going to involve some sort of injury. And in that moment, first thing is you want to treat the injury. You want to make sure everyone is taken care of. But not all injuries are apparent right away. I mean, if you break something, you'll know it. If you cut something, you'll know it. But sometimes there's internal injuries, or a head or neck injury may take time. How do you treat or handle caring for injuries and making sure that that information is also collected?
Well, and we tell clients this all the time. First of all, they should go, if you're injured, mm-hmm. Go to the ER, go to an urgent care center, and get checked out. Make sure you let them know about everything that's happened to you, head to toe.
Okay.
Because even if, let them know of all your injuries, not just the one that's bothering you the most. Let's say, for instance, you have tremendous neck pain, but you also slammed your knees against the dashboard. Okay. Well, let them know that too, because sometimes the injury that ends up being the most serious, maybe requiring surgery, isn't the injury that bothered you most at the time.
Right.
So, would you say that?
Yes, I agree. So I would say just be thorough, mention everything that hurts, not just the most prominent one. I definitely agree. We see that a lot. So
and now it seems providers, medical providers, it's you can only make one complaint. Well, you know what? I've got more than one complaint.
Right.
So if you got to line me up with multiple appointments, do whatever you need to do.
And I assume that those medical records, those evaluations become part of what you're going to need to establish a case, right? So you want to make sure that whoever you're talking to is paying close attention and documenting everything you're saying.
100%. We want our patients to get better. We want them to have all their injuries treated, but also bluntly I tell clients is, hey, nobody's going to believe what you say. The insurance companies, frankly, think you're a scammer or trying to exaggerate your claims to make a profit. Okay, and so and they're certainly not going to believe what your lawyer says, right? But they do believe and have to take account of what's in the medical records.
Okay. So, Paul, let's talk about things beyond the medical records now. And again, no matter what the instance, there's going to be some things around you, some, I'll call it evidence, that might be the right word in your parlance. But what data should you capture? And again, you're confused, you're emotional, you're upset, but if you can take a deep breath, what should you be sort of looking to make sure is accounted for that you may need later on?
Okay. So, I mean, you definitely want to start by exchanging basic information with the other driver. If you're able to take pictures of the vehicles, the way the cars are positioned, the damage to the vehicles, believe it or not, many times our clients, because of the accident, they don't do that. So we don't have those pictures for a very long time. It's usually the defense, the adjusters that take those pictures.
Okay.
Another important one is eyewitness information. Many times there are eyewitnesses on scene. It's very important to get their name and phone number because people have places to go. And a lot of times those eyewitnesses give us valuable information for our case, but they have to leave by the time the police get there. They're on their way to work. They're on their way to an appointment. So it's important to gather that information. If there's any visible injuries, that's important to make sure to take photos of those injuries, whether it's cuts or bruising that develop within a few days. We've had multiple cases where the pictures of the bruising, for example, to a client's knee, she was able to prove, no, I really did injure my knee, where the defense was arguing it wasn't that knee, it was the other knee. And she had a picture that was dated within a few days of the accident that showed the bruise. So the more information you can gather, the better.
So let me flip that over now because you want to gather what you can, but there's another side who may be trying to do the same thing. What, maybe kind of tying our first question, if someone comes in and says, hey, can I take a picture or can I ask you a question, record something, how do you react other than what you're trying to gather for yourself?
So we will, insurance, so it's a race to get to the evidence first, right? And so when our clients are sharp enough to get a witness's name and address, or I'm sorry, name and phone number, we'll have our investigators contact those witnesses, okay? Before the insurance company can do that. Whereas the insurance company, hey, they're in this business, all right? They know what they're doing.
Right.
And so they have their adjusters out there trying to get to the witnesses and get to the client before a client calls a lawyer. And if they do, first thing the insurance company wants to do is take a recorded statement.
Okay.
Right? We will never let our clients or give a recorded statement to the adverse party.
Okay, good advice. Now, we're going to talk about some of those things, and we're not going to get to everything today. We never do. Time flies. But let me tell you, if you do need some assistance, you want to follow up, just have a conversation, 847-474-9254. We'll give you that number again. Or injurylawadtorneys.com is the website, which is just filled with information. And on that website, you can find one of the ebooks that Ron has written, 5 Biggest Mistakes to Avoid in Your Personal Injury Case, some of the things we're talking about today. But that ebook is available. So that's injurylawadtorneys.com, 847-474-9254. And you'll get plenty of information and assistance there. So let's talk about that phone number. Someone has an accident, they do these things. When do they call an attorney? What's the right process? How do they go ahead and do that to get started?
So they should call an attorney after their initial medical evaluation. So whether it's after the emergency room, the urgent care, if they're able to see their primary care promptly, then after their initial medical evaluation. But the sooner the better is the bottom line. And that's because when they call us, we can give them advice. We can control and contain the information that they give to the adjusters. And we can also preserve information and evidence. So we've had cases where there's video footage, but we don't get called on time. So we don't get to send that spoliation letter out on time. And it's filmed over, for example, from a McDonald's or gas station parking lot.
Got it.
So the sooner the better. And I want to make one more point about we want to contain or minimize the information that the client gives to the adjusters.
Okay.
The adjusters may call them and may be the most pleasant person in the world and may act like they're their friend, but they're not your friend. Their job is to minimize your claim. So when we get to, intercept that and tell them not to give a recorded statement, another thing that we see often is adjusters will call very soon after the accident and offer $5,000 for the accident. I've had a client where $5,000, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, his ER bill alone, which he didn't even have yet, was $10,000, just the ER bill. So don't fall for that trap. Call an experienced attorney first.
Patience is hard, but it is the right thing, right?
Right.
I just want, we've got a couple minutes left, but Ron, we talked about injuries and getting medical evaluations. I'm sure this comes up. What about people who have pre-existing conditions? How are those handled? Is the insurance company looking for those, and can they go through records? I mean, what's the sort of overview on how do you handle those?
Sure, that's a great topic, Jim. Some people believe that, I injured my back in this auto accident, but I already had a bad back, so that must not count, so to speak. Well, that's not right at all.
Okay.
The law recognizes an aggravation injury or an exacerbation injury. So somebody has an underlying condition, a pre-existing condition, which is made worse, by, let's just say, the car crash. That is a compensable injury, and there's a lot of law on that, very clear. So if somebody has a underlying condition, as I've heard it said, and I believe this is pretty accurate, is when you have an underlying condition, it makes you easier to hurt and harder to fix.
Okay.
Very, very true.
Interesting. Yep.
Right? Somebody who's got a pre-existing neck condition, they have whiplash in an auto accident, takes a lot less impact and force to injure that person. And now you've aggravated their pre-existing condition to the point where it makes it harder to get them well, harder to fix them.
So bottom line, don't worry about that. Just
exactly.
get the information.
It's an aggravation injury. It's a compensable injury under the law.
All right. Well, again, we've got a lot we can cover, a lot here to talk about. But Paula, we've got you with us for the first time. You come from an interesting background in law, state's attorney originally in that office. Tell me about your transition from that to this work with Ron and his team.
Yeah, so I was a felony crimes prosecutor, and I love that position. I loved advocating for victims of crime, for to stand against the waves of crime. I took some time off to be home with my children when they were little, and then I knew I wanted to jump back in. But again, I want to advocate for the little guy, and so I feel like that's what I'm doing in this position as well. I'm able to use my skills from prosecuting. I have over 60 trials, bench and jury. And so I'm able to use that here in this position to advocate for people who have been injured and to help them against these big insurance companies. So although it's different fields, I'm still very passionate about what I do, and I feel like it's helped me become a better attorney.
Well, Ron speaks very highly of his team, how much he appreciates them, and I'm sure you're a nice inspiration to other females in this industry and moms who, you can have kids, you can have that life, but you're in a very, very difficult position here as well. So I think interesting and great that we can share that information with people as well.
Thank you.
Let me just jump in here too and talk about that. And Paul and I were talking about this earlier, is when you're a mom and you're also working, you got to be hyper-focused. There's no messing around.
No other,
right? Because you got a lot of balls in the air. And so when Paula's at work, she's organized and she's focused. And hey, That's great. That's what you want from
Yeah.
your lawyer or any professional.
Well, we've covered a lot today, and whether it's Paula or Ron, phone number's 847-474-9254, injurylawattorneys.com. Many more conversations coming up with you guys. Looking forward to it. Thanks for being here today. And we certainly invite you back to enjoy more of our conversations every month. You can find them on YouTube and on the website, injurylawattorneys.com. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.